I'm Steve Payne. I'm the editor of Canadian Contractor. I'm here again with Jeff Kohler of the Ontario Construction Finishing Industries Alliance. Last time we talked about the Ontario College of Trades, had a disagreement about that. I think we're going to disagree on the WSIB Bill 119 in Ontario, which extends mandatory WSIB coverage to lots of different people in Ontario that didn't have it before. Contractors are upset, Jeff. The big rally at Queen's Park early on this spring, a lot of people saying enough is enough and chanting that the WSIB needs to be dismantled. It has I don't know what the number is, $18 billion unfunded liability. They feel as if they're having to pay into a monopoly insurance plan. They should have the right to go to the private insurance market to get their insurance if they want. What's your take on the WSIB and on all of that?
Thank you, Steve. Well, I'll begin by saying that I don't necessarily believe that Bill 119 is a perfect piece of legislation. It does have some flaws in its language, perhaps. I do get to hear some of the same concerns that you do from time to time. But here's the thing. My mandate is to work against the underground economy on behalf of legitimate construction employers and employees. And that's a big chunk of what goes on in Ontario. $12 billion nationally is what's attributed to the underground economy in construction. And since we have the largest population, the largest amount of new construction, it's not difficult to extrapolate how much of that is centered in Ontario. The single biggest catalyst to the underground economy is the misuse or misdesignation of the independent operator. So it's someone who is really an employee, but an employer, because he wants to undercut his competitors by wide margins, says to someone, if you want to work for me, you're going to be a subcontractor or an independent operator, I'm going to pay you straight check. On the other side of that is someone who has payroll costs, so they're deducting income tax. WSIB premiums are being paid on their behalf. CPP premiums are being deducted. Employment insurance premiums are being deducted and remitted to the appropriate government agencies. So the net imbalance is that you have somebody who is paying straight check who has none of those costs, and the employee or the independent operator who is really an employee by any definition, it puts the illegitimate operator in a position of being able to undercut a legitimate one by margins of up to 40 or 50%. So Bill 119 is designed to address that by putting people who were previously not on the radar on the radar, so at least government enforcement agencies know that they're there.
One of the constant complaints that we get at the magazine, and talking to people at the rally, contractors, you're a renovation contractor firm, you have a couple crews that work for you, maybe have 8 guys on your crew. If they don't have their WSIB cleared, if those people, those subtrades, in the case of subtrades we'll talk, are not up to date on the WSIB, the auditor comes in and says, hey, guess what, Mr. Contractor? And you owe us $40,000. You owe us $20,000. The margin for the whole year is shot, some of these firms. Why not go after the individual people? Why make the general contractor and in a number of cases, they don't know whether people have the clearances or not. So they're really, really stuck in a really tough spot.
Well, there are a couple of issues that you touched on that I'd like to address. First of all, Bill 119 is designed about the independent operator. So if we're talking about a company that employs individuals, the old rules apply. So Bill 119 is strictly for those individuals who are identifying themselves as legitimately self-employed. And they should have some kind of insurance coverage if they get injured on the job site. My understanding with regard to the home renovation business is that home renovators are exempt.
As long as they don't do commercial work, but they do one commercial job, they're in.
Well,
most home renovators, like restaurant, will you come do my restaurant? Here's another thing. I mean, when I worked in renovations, the guy was, 90% home renos, and then he'd get to do a restaurant. Well, of course he gets to do a restaurant. He's a little renovated guy, and he gets to paint a restaurant. Now he's in for WSIB right up to the neck now, because he did a commercial job. This is the type of thing that drives people crazy.
Well, that's a conscious choice that you make. Either you're diversifying your business, in which case you're subject to the rules that apply to that side of the business, or you're specializing in home renovations.
It's a good way to keep the renovation contractors out of the commercial side.
That's true.
It's
Because
not.
probably the last thing you want is somebody who is, perhaps making money and not paying the proper amount of tax, competing with somebody who has all those payroll costs in the ICI sector, institutional, commercial, and industrial, and significantly undercutting them.
Underground economy, then WSIB is a good way to wipe out the underground economy. In short, that's what you're saying.
I think it's another tool.
Okay. Finally, at the beginning, I said, why not? Okay, you must have insurance. Just let them go get it privately. Tell them they've got to have either WSIB or they've got to have the private way.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, it could be a good compromise for a piece of legislation that isn't perfect. If you're willing to relinquish your rights to ever make a claim on or to WSIB, and can provide proof that you have significant and adequate insurance to cover you in the event of a workplace injury, then perhaps a provision could be made to opt out of WSIB for those people. But here's the thing, you've had workers for years, and WSIB is about protecting workers. For years, workers who haven't paid into the plan, or their employers rather, who haven't, and who are now or have gone on to subsequently collect WSIB benefits, who've never paid into it. And is that fair to all the people who have paid into it? And that's what helped create your unfunded liability.
Well, the unfunded liability is monstrous, and the president of the WSIB, just for coming up with a plan to reduce the unfunded liability, which included the actions in Bill 119, got himself a couple $100,000 bonus. Must be nice. But thanks, Jeff, for coming in and talking about Ontario College of Trades. If you didn't see that one, go back, watch that debate. And thanks for coming in. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Steve.